Hello, everyone. Welcome to our May 2024 Govern Stage Roadmap Review. First of all, we've had a few changes in our organizational structure since last quarter. Joe Randazzo has taken on our anti-abuse group, and we newly hired Ian, who is now working on our compliance group. So we're really excited to have both of those individuals handling those responsibilities. And I want to cover a few things that we've recently released before we get too deep into the roadmap. Also, just for legal purposes, please note that the roadmap items we talk about here today are not to be used for purchasing or planning purposes. Again, before we get too far into roadmap, I just want to highlight a few things that we've come out with in the last quarter that I'm really excited about. One is our Google Cloud integration that we've released. We're able to integrate very nicely with Google Cloud Services through GitLab. We're able to allow users from both GitLab and Google Cloud to work really well together with the new integration that we've come out. I won't go into a lot of details there, but highly encourage you to check that out if you've got customers or if you are using both of those two things together. On the vulnerability management side, we've redesigned our vulnerability report filter bar, which is really exciting news because that makes it horizontally scalable. We were running out of room, UX real estate to add more filters, and this is going to allow us to add much more advanced filtering in the future. And then lastly, I'm really excited about all the improvements we've made on custom roles and permissions. We've released a huge number of new permissions this last quarter. We're up to 19 custom permissions, along with several other enhancements that we've come out with, such as auditing, assignment of roles, and the ability to edit a custom role. Overall, we have a very robust one-year roadmap for the entire govern stage, including a number of things that we've come out with already in Q1. We're not going to be going into all of these in depth, but I do want to take a few minutes and focus in on what's coming over the next 3 months. So with that, I'm going to be handing it off to each of the PMs for the different groups in Govern while we cover that 3-month roadmap. So first up, over to you, Hannah.
All right, I'm Hannah Suter. I'm currently the product manager for authentication here in the Govern stage. A quick refresh on what our group focuses on. We work on providing a toolkit for GitLab administrators to be able to strike a balance between security and accessibility for their users, and that's going to look different for how everyone decides to balance those things. So we are simply providing the tooling around that. Looking forward, we have some exciting news on our Google Cloud integration. Previously, this was in beta, and by our June date, it will be in GA. What this does is provides a seamless connection between GitLab and different Google Cloud resources to eliminate the overhead of switching between the two. It uses a super secure form of authentication called Workload Identity Federation that does not require any tokens that can potentially be compromised. And another exciting aspect is that we are supporting the ability to pay and buy GitLab from the GCP marketplace, further making this a seamless partnership. Enterprise user management continues to be a focus. This is for SaaS only, and this provides increased user management capabilities for group owners on GitLab.com. We are locking down or giving admins group owners the ability to lock down user invitations by enterprise users only. And then we're also looking to eliminate something that is kind of confusing for users now, whereas they can have a SAML identity and also have a local identity that allows them to log in with username and password. And for enterprise users, we're allowing group owners to say, nope, your SAML identity is all you get, and no logging in with this local account anymore. We're adding a lot of things to control tokens better. We have a MVC for granular scopes. This has been a much requested feature. We are going to begin work on putting credentials inventory on GitLab.com. That gives ultimate group owners a view into the credentials that exist in their group and provide certain controls around revoking them, seeing when they expire, etc. We have an improved rotation API that's more full-featured and makes it easier to rotate your tokens. And we also have a pretty cool security feature that is called DPOP, or Demonstrating Proof of Possession. It will go behind a feature flag, and we're looking for early adopter customers who are interested in this. And what this does is basically binds a token to the account that created it. And if you are not that account owner, you will not be able to use the token. So this protects against something like a leak token, where the token is the only credential that's used. You will also need to have a second sort of proof of possession in order to use that token. So that's what this feature is. We're continuing to build out our service accounts. More robust abilities over this feature that's been fairly well adopted will allow a customizable username and email address, a badge that identifies service account users clearly, the ability to send email notifications to a customizable email address so you can be aware of what may be going on with your service account. And then we're going to build out our REST API support to support things like using service accounts in infrastructure as code environments. Looks like Joe is up next with authorization.
Hey everyone, Joe Randazzo, PM for authorization. If you're not familiar with authorization, this covers permissions in GitLab, particularly around default roles and custom roles. For the future functionality for custom roles, we're continuing to build out permissions to support custom roles, including permissions around runners, MR settings and approvals, push rules, integrations, and protected branches. In addition, we do have SAML linking support already, but we're going to be expanding that into LDAP link support to allow assignment of large groups of users. In addition to assigning custom roles to groups, so if organizations are using groups to manage users, they can assign those custom roles easily rather than individually on a per user basis. We've also set up a new section here called Access Insights. What this implies is giving better visibility into permissions in the system. Today, if you look at permissions for default roles, you have to go into the documentation and it'll tell you what you can do. Well, with custom roles in particular, this is dynamic in the system. So we're going to provide a way in the membership management page to view what permissions you have on the right bar in the drawer. In addition to that, our first iteration is providing an export to provide an accurate list of users and permissions and groups and projects. We don't do a good job at this today, where you have to stitch together about 4 or 5 APIs to do so. So we'll be providing a first iteration on that. And then roadmap plans is taking that export and then putting that into an API and UI form of that. And I believe next is compliance.
Thanks, Joe. Hey there, my name is Ian, and I'm the product manager for the compliance group here at GitLab. Before jumping into our roadmap for the next few months, I just wanted to take the opportunity to first remind everyone about the mission for the group, which is to give compliance managers best-in-class features within GitLab to achieve compliance visibility of checks, violations, and audit events throughout the entire DevSecOps lifecycle. We want to not only make sure that compliance managers are provided the tools necessary to ensure that they are able to visualize their GitLab instance's compliance posture, but that they're able to do so simply, easily, and efficiently as part of their day-to-day workflow. Although the next 2 slides are separate initiatives, I'd like to chat about them as one cohesive story around what we are planning to do over the next few months to provide users the flexibility and specification required when it comes to being able to create and apply multiple standards to projects in the product. Talking first about supporting multiple framework labels per project, at the moment, compliance frameworks share a 1-for-1 relationship with projects. That is, users can only apply one compliance framework per project. What we heard from users is that this is limiting and does not reflect how frameworks are usually applied to projects in their day-to-day workflow, as there will usually be more than one compliance framework that applies to a project at any given time. As such, what we are moving forward with is to instead provide a way in which a user can apply multiple framework labels per project, which will allow users to apply multiple different compliance frameworks such as GDPR, ISO, SOC 2, and NIST onto a single project at a given time. You'll be able to apply each label representing a different framework to each project at the same time, which will then help scope the project under each of the framework's different set of requirements. As part of the story around providing more flexibility and specifications around compliance in GitLab, we will also be working on giving users the ability to create compliance frameworks from scratch that helps align your business with any framework or standard that may incorporate the usual legal standards, such as GDPR, ISO, SOC 2, etc., and any other standards that your organization may follow today, such as internal company policies. Users will be able to then apply multiple requirements to a framework or standard, and inside those requirements, they can have multiple checks. We will be working on providing the ability to combine multiple different checks, both internally available out of the box in GitLab and externally defined, which when combined, can help you and your organization have a much more thorough number and level of checks to help you understand your compliance posture at a much deeper level. We will also be working with the security policy group to link up your security policies to help remediate and enforce policies against projects under your newly created compliance framework. Last but not least, we will soon be releasing an audit event connector integration to enable users to send audit event data from GitLab to Snowflake using a Snowflake Marketplace app. The app, when installed, pulls audit events from the Audit Events API at certain intervals, so you'll be able to see your GitLab audit events through Snowflake and have an additional layer of compliance there when it comes to finding out if anything's gone wrong on your GitLab instance. In the coming months, we will look to expand support in the Snowflake Marketplace app for additional APIs, starting with the APIs around users, projects, and repository data. This will allow users to pull even more important and pertinent data from GitLab into Snowflake, which ensures that they have a safer, secure, and more compliant GitLab instance due to the ability to stream key events and data to Snowflake. All in all, these are very exciting times for the compliance group in GitLab, and we look forward to delivering value to our customers through the new features we have in store for compliance in GitLab. I think that's it for me. I'll hand it over to Grant. Thank you.
Grant Hickman here. I am product manager for security policies, and I'll take you through a few slides focusing again on the kind of the 3 months ahead. We've got a lot of things deep in the roadmap, but we'll focus on the next 3 months. So first, I would like to talk about toggle policies to fail open or fail closed. I will note here, I'm mentioning this is recently released. We did release this in 17.0, but what we're working on enhancing here in 17.1 is the ability to actually configure this from the policy editor. Right now we have YAML support, and what this will do is to allow you to essentially fail closed when there is a violation of your policy for a merge request approval policy, but with the ability to fail open, we'll actually ignore scenarios where projects are not properly configured. So this makes it a little bit easier to roll out the policy globally and to be able to get some benefit without blocking merge requests that are not exactly relevant for the policy. Next up is a really anticipated feature, our pipeline execution policy type. This will be a net new policy that we're adding that will allow you to enforce custom CI in all of your projects. We do have some support today. We have an experiment available in the scan execution policy as an action, but we're working as we GA this solution in introducing it as again a net new security policy type. This will be focused on triggered scan execution only, or pipeline execution only. In the initial MVC, will not be adding support for scheduled pipelines. This will help in our effort to unify essentially security scan and CI enforcement as we replace or provide a replacement for compliance pipelines and deprecate that solution and move towards this new, more robust solution. Currently, we're targeting 17.2 for general availability. And then in the next slide, I want to talk through a little more of the details of what to expect with this policy type. So one of the great benefits that we're expecting here is the introduction of reserved stages. Reserved stages will provide kind of a contract between security and compliance teams and downstream development teams so that we can ensure jobs are run in a very compliant way in these predefined stages. With this policy type, you'll be able to use this injection pattern or an override pattern. So it is possible also to instead entirely override the downstream project's pipeline. We'll have a few limits in place to note. So we're expecting to have up to 5 policies supported per level, and then to be able to support up to 5 policies targeting a single project. This is something also that would not be possible today with compliance pipelines. what we're doing, the pipeline execution policy type is generating what are essentially ephemeral and isolated pipelines. And then these jobs that we're enforcing will appear to the downstream project teams in these reserved stages. So it allows for more flexibility to have multiple different configurations that target the same project. So a lot of fun things to come here. We're going to continue to capture feedback on use cases, but this is the plan for the initial MVC release. Next up is policy application limits. So in terms of our existing policy types, scan execution policies, and merge request approval policies, we have had a limit in place of 5 policies per type, and we're going to work on actually extending the limits here as customers continue to adopt. They want to be able to scale and to be able to manage more pipeline different policies for different use cases for certain projects. So we're going to be working to extend the limits here. Right now, we are completing some backend changes to aid in the scaling and optimization of our database, where we're managing policies in the database, and that will help to define from a performance standpoint what those limits will be, but we'll keep you posted there. Next is optimizing global schedule scan execution. This is something that we're still working through some of the details, but the current plan of attack is that we'll be providing an application setting that allows for managing the batch sizes supported for scheduled scan execution. And this will ensure that when we're trying to enforce scheduled scan execution across many different projects across an instance, that we're able to spread the load across the runner infrastructure and policy infrastructure in a more suitable way. So that's something that has been highly requested from customers leveraging that scheduled scan execution type. And the last one I wanted to note for the next 3 months that we're focusing on is the license approval component filter. So this will be an additional filter added to our merge request approval type for those policies that are focused on the license scan results. And this will allow us to have a little more granular of a policy that is an allow list or deny list based on the actual component. So this would be the package name plus the package version. For example, if the license is LGPL21, you'd be able to add that as an allowed license, versus you could also add that as a denied license specific to the version, which is going to help in more specifically and granularly defining which licenses are explicitly allowed in a given project. So yeah, that is what we have planned for policies, and I'll hand it on over to Alana to talk about Threat Insights.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alana. I am the PM for Threat Insights, and we have made some exciting progress, and I want to talk to you about what is on our roadmap. So for the dependency list, we are going to be adding filters and groups. I have in the next slide identified what is going to be included in there, but I also wanted to call out that we are going to add the ability to link vulnerabilities directly to the vulnerability report from the dependency list. So this slide goes over all of the different filters that we have planned or completed by the project or the group level dependency list. So this is a great reference. Right now we have the ability to filter by license and project on the group dependency list. Filter by license will be coming on the project, and then we have some other ones that are actively being developed right now that will be coming in subsequent milestones. And on the vulnerability report, as Sam mentioned, we have brought feature parity from our old filters over to this new filtered search component, so we can add more filters. Up next is the ability to filter by identifier, and then we'll be adding the ability to group by status, severity, OWASP top 10, and tool. Right now, this is available today at the project level, and we are working to bring that to the group level. And this item has been on our roadmap for a while now, so I'm sure you've probably heard about it, but auto resolve or auto dismiss vulnerabilities. We will have a vulnerability policy type, and you'll be able to either auto resolve or auto dismiss vulnerabilities. We're actually starting to work on this milestone, so very excited to kick off that work. And when it comes to AI, we have two features. We have the vulnerability explanation. We are working to bring that to GA, and we are going to be bringing it into GitLab Duo chat. So users will be able to, on a vulnerability record, they will be able to ask specific questions that they would be able to answer today with the drawer that flies out on SaaS vulnerabilities. They'll be able to ask that directly in chat. So they can ask to summarize it, they can ask how to fix it, and then they can ask things about how that vulnerability can be exploited. And yeah, that will be available in self-managed. This will be, so both vulnerability explanation and vulnerability resolution will be included as a part of GitLab Duo Enterprise package. So right now, both features are included as Ultimate, but this is going to be moving over to that Enterprise package. All right, back to you, Sam.
All right, thanks everybody. With our software supply chain security working group, we are currently working to add a new job source claim. This is going to identify the source of a particular job so users can identify which jobs were initiated by pipeline execution policies and which jobs were initiated by just part of the normal CI/CD pipeline. This is going to help users gain additional confidence in their binaries as they can use that claim when they go to sign an artifact or sign a container image or sign something. They could sign potentially the security scan results, or they could sign something else and actually verify that it was produced by a pipeline execution policy job, which is more regulated versus just a normal job in the CI/CD pipeline. Additionally, I don't have a slide on this, but we are continuing to evaluate our plans on how we can add support for SLSA level 3. We've made some significant progress in creating a high-level architectural plan on how we want to go about addressing that, and we're working to roadmap that out over the next several milestones. So thanks everyone for joining today, and we look forward to taking your questions in our live Q&A.